Hey guys, welcome back. We are actually in the month of September now at the time of this recording, and I am, let's just say, knee deep in a trust lesson. And if you know me, you know this whole, learn to have patience and trust thing is something that I feel like God has been working on with me for, probably most of my life. Imagine that. Maybe if I would just learn, right? Well, when I tell you all the things, y'all are going to be like, dang girl, get it together. You ready? Here we go. Welcome back to Soulful Wonderings, a space where we're exploring life's lessons, healing through reflection, and remembering that we are never alone on our journey. I'm Heather and I'm your host. And before we get too far in, we would love it if you would subscribe to our podcast. You can also head over to our socials and follow us there. That's going to be Facebook and Instagram. And I will put all of that in the show notes so that you can find it very easily. I am also working on something new for you guys. We're going to be launching the healing lens. We're going to be doing that very soon. I'm going to be using photography and stories to heal. We're working on getting all that up on the website. I'll put it in the show notes. For now, we'll put our email address in the show notes and you can sign up that way. But right now, today, we're talking about trust. And I think I've talked about my husband a fair amount on here. Have I? I'm not sure. Anyway, my husband is basically my rock. He's literally my ground. I can touch him and I can instantly move energy and ground, like I said, by simply just touching him. And as far as humans go, he's probably the one that I trust the most in my life, literally with my life. And when we go out shooting photos, which we do all the time, I'm forever wanting to go somewhere, he's always there with me. And he's just kind of making sure that I'm safe. And the truth is, when I go shooting, most of the time we do go together. It's kind of rare that I'm out on my own. And it doesn't escape me that I'm not sure how much he wants to go. Mind you, he is an excellent photographer in his own right, and he shoots as well, and I do think he enjoys it. Okay, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I wonder if he's going kind of to make sure that I make it back in one piece, or even perhaps that I don't get arrested because I've gone somewhere I shouldn't have gone. Because, y'all, we don't have bail money. I'm just saying. And look, our marriage isn't perfect. There have been plenty of times that he's pissed me off, quite frankly, and I'm sure I've done the same for him. And we've had our moments, but I've never, even in those moments, even when I wasn't necessarily happy with him, I've never not trusted him. And some of these stories of me trusting him will actually be in our healing series that's coming up. So I don't want to give everything away. But he's I'm going to say he's been my savior more than once when we were out shooting. He has stopped me from stepping on things. He stopped me from, stepping in holes, things like that. He's recommended a different path because the one that I'm going, wait, well, which way should we go? Maybe we should go this way. And he'll say, you know what? I think that one's a bit dangerous. Why don't we go this way? There have been times that included a car. I think more than one that included alligators. And seriously, I'm not here in the outback or anything like that. It's just the places that we go. We go outside, okay? We go places where there is nature and there are things. And I mean, things can happen. But one reason I just never worry when I'm shooting is that I know he's watching. Always. Even when he's shooting, it's like he never takes his eyes off me for very long. For example, I have a friend that, we have a friend that we saw at an event one time. We just happened upon her. We didn't know she would be there too. And she's actually known my husband longer than she's known me, really a lot longer. And I was off at a booth. I was looking at something that I wanted to buy, I think. And they were just kind of talking, chit-chatting, catching up. And she told me later, another time we were together, she said, yeah, I knew y'all were twin flames, soulmates, whatever you want to call it. Because she said his eyes just rarely left me. He would talk to her, and it's not as if he lost focus on her. He was present in that conversation. But she said it was almost constant that he would look up and just sort of check to see where I was and make sure that I was okay. And then, of course, when I came over to them, interestingly enough, I had absorbed a fair amount of energy at that point. We were at a metaphysical show, so there was a lot of energy around that day. And I had absorbed a lot of energy. I was sort of buzzing, like literally, I'm like a little buzzy bee going, oh my God, this is a lot of energy. And I really needed to get rid of it. And I was going to walk outside and just, literally touch the ground, touch grass so that I could ground. But I just touched him, and immediately that energy started to lessen, and I was able to kind of handle it then. And then, of course, later we went outside. So that's what I mean by literally I can touch him and everything calms down. And it is one of the most lovely things in my life. This is another one of those things that for a long time I didn't know about all my gifts and what was going on. But he's always been that person that when I'm around him, everything's just calmer. Okay, now hear me. I want to make sure I'm clear. I don't live my life in one of these oblivious states. Okay, I'm not one of those people. I'm actually very conscious. Probably, I think more than the average person. And I say that because I've had people that I've been with that something will happen and they'll go, "You saw that? Like you knew that? How did you even know?" But I'm always watching and observing, and part of that is my nature, that I just like to observe people and observe things. But I think it's also a little bit of a safety thing maybe, but I'm just kind of always watching. I'm observing. I'm aware of what's happening around me. Like I said, I'm just one of those people. But when I'm with him, there are times when I do let my guard down a little more. I kind of, I'll let him do the worrying. That's not always the case. And the truth is I can kind of snap back to reality quickly if I need to. But when he's around, I just feel safer, and I feel like I don't have to do as much because I know he's going to be there. So like I said, we've been together for we've been together a long time, and he's kind of, I'm going to say he's become aware of my needs. He recognizes when things happen, maybe, and sometimes we can kind of communicate without really speaking. He's been around enough. He hears me talk about things enough that he's ridiculously intelligent. And so he just picks up on things, and he remembers things that I've said, or he'll just remember, a time when this happened before in a way I reacted, and I seem to be reacting that same way, or, even things he doesn't really understand, because there's a lot of things about the metaphysical world that he doesn't really understand, but he just he takes it for what it is, and he believes me, and he trusts me, so he believes that what I'm telling him is real, and he's witnessed some of it, so, But especially times, let's say I'm sort of in the throes of anxiety, he can recognize that, and he can almost anticipate what I'm going to need. And he's actually learned to ask questions that I can answer yes or no to, because sometimes I'll kind of be in a state where I can't really verbalize what I need, either that I just can't verbalize it, or maybe I don't really know myself. I just know that something's wrong, and I'm, for lack of a better way to say it, I'm in trouble, not really, but like I said, that anxiety thing. Great example of this. I remember we were at a concert, and y'all, this was so many years ago. I don't even know how many years ago this was. This might have been 30 years ago. Oh my God, I'm getting so old. But anyway, long time ago. Long before I knew what my gifts were. And that may be one of the first times that I can really remember that he really rescued me, right? I'd become overwhelmed. I remember that. It was just too many people. Y'all, you're at a packed concert, And I know now that I was overloading on, the emotions that I was feeling and whatnot. But at the time, it presented very much like a panic attack. And not only did I not know about my gifts, I didn't really understand that that's often equated to panic, or people say you're having an anxiety attack or panic attack or whatever. There was just so much I did not know at that time. And he just kind of looks at me and he says, "What do you need?" And I couldn't answer him. I'm just sort of staring at him, shaking my head, I think. And I'm one of those people that I can often control my mouth, but I can't control my face. It's just, my face is using its outside voice most of the time. So I imagine that my face was probably full of a fair amount of panic. So he just looks at me, because at that point, I think he just knew he had to get me safe, right? So he says, "Stay behind me," and he grabbed my hands. And then he literally made a path through this crowd with me behind him. Now, mind you, he's 6 foot. He's a fairly big guy. And I'm short, and at the time I was much smaller. So I could sort of tuck in behind him. And I just held on. He had his hands behind him, and he was holding on to my hands. And he just became a human shield. And he just got me out of there, because he knew that's what I needed. And he knew that without me ever speaking those words. And if there was ever a day that I knew that he was my person and that I could trust him literally with my life, it was that day. And I feel like I also need to be clear about this. I don't take this for granted. Please understand that I know what he does for me. I'm very aware of what he does for me. And I love him so much for it. And that trust is just so complete, Now, if I could just learn that in other parts of my life. So let me explain what's going on. I told you I was having some trust challenges this month. I'm going through a couple health things right now. Nothing huge. It's not, or at least at this point it's not. It's two things at once, and it's just annoying and expensive. Neither one of them has been easy to figure out. They have both required testing and just all kinds of things. And I get I get impatient. I know. I get impatient. I want to know the answer. I want to move on. Anyway, knowing what I know now, of course, the first thing I did was scan my body, try to heal with Theta. And the message I've gotten more than once during this whole kind of ordeal is that I have to see it through. And here's the truth. Some things just need medical intervention and treatment. This is true. But I'm over here going, I thought we could heal anything. And while I do think that's true, sometimes maybe it shouldn't be. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But sometimes there is medical intervention that needs to happen. And sometimes maybe there's a lesson. Maybe there's a reason why we can't just heal it. I heard someone say this the other day. It's actually a lady that I follow on TikTok, and she does card readings for the different astrological signs. She does them, I think, weekly, and then she'll do a monthly one. And she was doing the Pisces reading for September. And this is what's crazy. Okay. I've seen several people on TikTok doing readings for Pisces. And the ones, I mean, right now, obviously they're talking about the month of September, or this time of September. I think we're in the first week right now. So you know how TikTok is. Once you watch one thing, it ends up on your For You page and part of your algorithm. So I'm seeing a lot of readings for Pisces. And I'm seeing the same thing from every one of them. Even if I stop for a few seconds and listen, they're all saying the same things. They're saying things are coming, things are changing, that we will have things that we need to deal with. Again, multiple readers, right? But one thing she said really, it sort of stuck out to me, that there would be something to deal with from our past that wasn't to be healed. There are things, how do we say this? There are things that happen that make us who we are. There are things that form us, things that shape us, that allow us to be the empathic, the empathetic people that we are. Those are the things that help us help others because we're using our life experience. So she was saying that there are things happening in the month of September that it wasn't about healing it. It was about, I guess, understanding it. And I'm going to say use it to do what it is that we need to do because it's making us who we are. And so again, every time I would scan or look at these things and try to deal with them, God creator, he kept saying to me, you have to go through it. You have to see this through. So that means test. That means money. That means no answers at times, or answers I don't love at times. But it was all about trusting the process. I'll be damned, that word again. When it comes to God, for me, trust is hard, which I know sounds so stupid because I'm contradicting myself is what's happening, because I do trust him. I know this. I know it will be fine no matter what the tests say. I know he will take care of me. He's done it before. I know this. Maybe I'm worried about how. I want it to be in a way that I like. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to lose everything. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe I need to, though. Maybe I need to do that so that I can make room for something better. This is true. What do they say? If you're holding on so tight to something in your hand and you won't let go, then you can't grab the thing that's better. I also don't like the unknown. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person out there that feels this way, but I just want to know what I'm dealing with, right? I want to get past this. I want to move on. Maybe part of the lesson here is that I'm being forced to slow down as I trust the process. But there's another part of it too. I don't want to be the guy from that old story, and y'all may remember this one, or you may have heard it. The story goes that there was a guy on a roof of a house and that floodwaters were rising, right? And he said, I know God will save me. So someone came by in one of those, those big military trucks. Hey, come on, we'll take you to higher ground. He said, it's good. God will save me. Okay, so they went on. And then someone came by with a boat. Hey, come on, we'll take you to higher ground. He said, it's good. God will save me. I'm good. So they went on. Then came a helicopter, right? Which is kind of getting to be last resort, right? Helicopter comes. Hey, come on, let us take you up and take you to higher ground. It's good. I'm good. God will save me. So they left. And then, well, he drowned. He gets to heaven. He's kind of like, what gives, man? You said you'd save me. And God's like, well, I sent a truck. I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. You didn't get in. And I'm kind of one of those people that I'm looking at the situation going, okay, I trust, but do I need to be doing something? That's the person I am. Do I need to be helping myself? Is there an action that I need to be taking? Am I missing something? Am I not doing something that is expected of me and I'm not understanding, so I'm missing what you're trying to tell me? But I'm also a little bit of a control freak, so there's that. So I'm left with, why is it so easy to trust my husband and just know that he'll be there and never question it? And it's so hard to fully trust God. And I say that, I think I do fully trust God. I think I'm struggling to completely let go and just allow him to do. Because I guess the reality is when I'm with my husband, we're often working together to make it happen, right? But with God, I'm just trusting that he's going to do what I need. And sometimes I don't know what that need is. How are we going to meet this need? How is this going to work? So why is that so hard? Why is it so hard to just let go? Which for me right now is the $1 million question, right? How about you? Is that a question for you too? So I invite you to stay with me to the next episode where we will get into trust more. We will talk about some tools and some ways to develop our trust and things like that. I think it's going to be a great episode, so I hope you will come back and join me. And in the meantime, listen to your heart and keep it safe.